Have you ever had one of those days where you wake up feeling like you're already behind? The moment your eyes open, your mind is already racing, a mental checklist of deadlines, that thing you forgot to do for your kids, the weird noise the car is making, the worrying news headline you saw last night, that awkward thing you said to a colleague 20 years ago that your brain suddenly decided to replay at 3 in the morning. It's like a swarm of bees is constantly buzzing in your head, and the queen bee's name is stress. And if you're over 40, you might have noticed this feeling doesn't just pack up and leave like it used to. It starts to stick around. It overstays its welcome, unpacking its bags in the spare room of your mind and making itself at home. It affects your sleep, your mood, even the way you interact with the people you love most. You find yourself snapping at your partner, feeling overwhelmed by small tasks, or just feeling this low-grade hum of anxiety all day long. It's exhausting. I want you to know, first and foremost, that you are not alone in feeling this. This isn't a sign that you're failing or that you're weak. It's a sign that life, especially life after 40, comes with a unique set of pressures and that your brain, brilliant as it is, has picked up some unhelpful tricks to try and cope. But here's the good news. Just as your mind learned these tricks, it can also unlearn them. You can take back control. You can find that sense of peace again, not the peace of a quiet room, but the peace of a quiet mind, even when the world around you is noisy. That's exactly what we're going to talk about in this video. We're going to explore 5 powerful mind tricks to take back your peace. These aren't about adding more to your to-do list. They're about shifting your perspective, about using the wisdom and self-awareness you've gained over the years to quiet that buzzing swarm. We'll start with the first 2, because they lay the crucial foundation for everything else. Let's start with what I call catching the storyteller. Our minds are incredible meaning-making machines. They are constantly narrating our lives, interpreting every event, every comment, every email. But somewhere along the line, after decades of experience, that narrator can turn into a bit of a catastrophist. It starts writing horror stories and thrillers instead of the calm, factual documentary of your life. Here's a simple example. Let's say your boss emails you. Can we talk at 3 p.m.? Now, if you're feeling grounded, you might think, sure, probably about the project we're working on. But if stress is running the show, the storyteller in your head immediately jumps to the worst-case scenario. Oh no, I'm in trouble. What did I do wrong? The report must have been flawed. They're probably unhappy with my performance. I might even get laid off. And just like that, from one simple, neutral sentence, you've spun a whole story that sends your heart racing and ruins your entire morning. You're living in a future that hasn't happened, suffering over a problem that doesn't even exist. The trick here is to catch the storyteller in the act. It's about creating a tiny little gap between the event and your reaction to it. The moment you feel that familiar clutch of anxiety in your chest or that spiral of worried thoughts starting, I want you to gently ask yourself, what story am I telling myself right now? Just that simple question. What story am I telling myself about this email? About this traffic jam? About my friend not calling me back? By naming it as a story, you do something profound. You separate yourself from the thought. You're no longer the thought itself. You are the observer of the thought. You are the one listening to the storyteller, and that gives you all the power. Once you've identified the story, you can then look for the facts. The fact is, the email said, "Can we talk at 3 p.m.? That's it. Everything else is a story you've added. This isn't about positive thinking. It's about accurate thinking. It's about pulling yourself out of frightening fiction and back onto the solid ground of what you actually know to be true. This one practice of catching the storyteller can save you from hours, even days, of unnecessary stress and worry. Now, the second mind trick builds beautifully on first. It's about planting your feet in the now. When the storyteller is running wild, where are you? You're almost always trapped in the future, worrying about what might happen or stuck in the past, ruminating on what already did. Your body is physically here in this room, watching this video, but your mind is miles or years away. And that disconnect is incredibly draining. Planting your feet in the now is the practice of gently, kindly, bringing your attention back to the present moment. It's not some mystical, complicated meditation, though meditation is a wonderful way to practice this. It's something you can do right now as you're listening to me. Just take a breath and feel your feet flat on the floor. Notice the weight of your body in the chair. Listen to the sound of my voice or any other ambient sound in the room. For just these few seconds, there is no past, there is no future. There is just this moment. And in this moment, right here, right now, are you actually okay? Is there an immediate threat? Probably not. The present moment is almost always manageable. It's the projected future that feels overwhelming. So, when you find yourself getting swept away by that stressful story, your anchor is your senses. What are 5 things you can see right now? Look for details. The grain of the wood on your desk, the color of a book cover. What are 4 things you can feel? The texture of your shirt, the cool air on your skin, the smooth surface of your phone. What are 3 things you can hear? 2 things you can smell? 1 thing you can taste? This isn't about escaping your life. It's about coming home to it. It's about realizing that your peace isn't out there somewhere, in a future where all your problems are solved. It's available to you right here, in this very breath, whenever you choose to return to it. So, we've started with 2 foundational tricks: catching the storyteller in your mind that spins worst-case scenarios, and then planting your feet in the present moment to find your footing again. These 2 work together like a team. One helps you see the stressful thought for what it is, and the other gives you a safe place to stand once you've let it go. Now that we've laid this groundwork, let's move on to another powerful shift that can dramatically change how you relate to the pressures in your life. Now, those first 2 tricks are incredibly powerful because they happen in the quiet space of your own mind. They're your internal anchors. But what about the stress that comes from the outside world? The constant demands, the endless to-do list that never seems to get any shorter, the feeling that you're being pulled in a dozen different directions at once? This is where a lot of us, especially at this stage in our lives, really start to feel the burn. We spent decades being responsible, being the go-to person, the reliable one at work, the rock for our family, and that identity, as beautiful as it is, can become a heavy coat we never take off. This brings us to our 3rd mind trick, and it's a game changer. It's about redefining the word no. I can almost feel some of you tensing up just hearing that word. For many of us, no feels negative. It feels selfish. It feels like you're letting people down or closing a door or admitting you can't handle it. We've been conditioned to say yes to the extra project, to chairing the committee, to hosting a family gathering, to helping a friend move on the one weekend you had planned to finally relax. We say yes, often out of genuine desire to be helpful, but also sometimes out of fear. Fear of missing out, fear of being seen as uncooperative, or fear of not being needed anymore. But here's the perspective shift I want to offer you. Think of your time and energy not as a bottomless well, but as a precious resource, like a beautiful, mature garden you've been tending for years. You can't just keep planting more and more seeds in the same plot of land without eventually depleting the soil. Saying no to a new commitment isn't rejection of the person or the task. It's a profound yes to your own garden. It's you being a good steward of your own peace. It's you protecting the time and energy needed for the things you have already planted and promised to nurture, your health, your key relationships, your deepest passions. So, how do we make this shift from no as a negative to no as a protective yes? It starts with a simple pause. The next time a request comes in, instead of giving that automatic, knee-jerk yes just to please someone in the moment, give yourself permission to say, let me check my calendar and get back to you, or I need to think about that before I can commit. That pause, even if it's just for 10 seconds, is a revolutionary act. It gives you back your power. In that pause, you can ask yourself, does this truly align with my priorities right now? Do I have the energy for this without sacrificing my well-being? If the answer is no, then your no can be graceful. You don't need a dramatic excuse or a long, apologetic story. A simple, thank you so much for thinking of me, but I won't be able to take that on right now, is all that's needed. It's firm, it's polite, and it honors the boundaries of your own garden. Remember, every time you say no to something that would drain you, you are silently saying yes to something that fills you up. You are saying yes to your peace. Now, this practice of setting boundaries naturally leads us to our 4th mind trick, which is about shifting something we all do, often without even realizing it. I call this one turning. It's a tiny linguistic change, but its impact on your mental state is enormous. Let's try it right now. Think of a routine task you have to do today or this week. Maybe it's doing the grocery shopping. The internal monologue might be, ugh, I have to go to the store today. Feel the weight, the burden, the resentment in that phrase. I have to. Now let's reframe it. I get to go to the store today. What does that imply? It implies opportunity. It implies privilege. I get to go to the store today. I have the health to drive a car, the financial means to buy food, a family to cook for, the freedom to choose what we eat. This isn't about slapping a fake, happy smile on everything. It's about recognizing the truth and the context that our stressed-out minds often filter out. Let's take another one. Maybe something that feels like a real chore. I have to drive my mom to her doctor's appointment. That can feel like another item on the exhausting checklist. But what happens when we shift it? I get to drive my mom to her appointment. I still have my mom in my life. I have the chance to spend some one-on-one time with her, to be her comfort and support. I have the car and the ability to help her. The task itself hasn't changed, but the meaning behind it has transformed completely. It's moved from a burden to an act of love. This trick works because it directly combats a psychological pattern called habituation, where we get so used to the good things in our lives that we stop seeing them as good and start seeing them as expected, even as entitlements. Stress thrives on the sense of burden. Peace thrives on a sense of gratitude. By consciously changing our internal language from the language of obligation to the language of opportunity, we re-enchant our daily lives. We start to notice the small miracles we were taking for granted. The I have to make dinner becomes I get to nourish my body. The I have to go to work becomes I get to use my skills and provide for myself. This is a denial of life's genuine difficulties. It's a recalibration of your perspective to notice the good that is already woven into the fabric of your day, the very fabric that stress tries to convince you is only made of thorny threads. So now, we've equipped ourselves with 4 powerful tools. We're catching our stressful stories, anchoring ourselves in the present moment, setting protective boundaries by redefining no, and reframing our burdens into privileges. These practices work together to create a much more resilient and peaceful state of mind. And there's one final piece of this puzzle, one last trick that brings everything together in a truly beautiful way. You know, it's interesting. When we start using these tricks, catching the storyteller, planting our feet in the now, redefining no, and shifting our language from have to get to, something subtle but profound begins to happen. We start to create a little more space in our minds. The constant buzz of anxiety begins to quiet from a roar to a murmur. And in that newfound quiet, we often stumble upon a surprising truth. A lot of the stress we feel isn't just about what's happening to us, but about the story we tell ourselves about ourselves in the midst of it all. We become our own harshest critic, a relentless judge presiding over a courtroom where we are always a defendant. This brings us to our 5th and final mind trick, and in many ways, it's the one that makes all the others stick. It's about switching your inner critic for your inner mentor. Think about that voice in your head for a moment. You know the one that, when you make a small mistake at work, whispers, "You're so careless." The one that, when you feel tired, says, "You're getting old and lazy." The one that looks at you in the mirror and immediately points out every flaw. That's the inner critic. It's been with many of us for a long, long time, and it speaks the language of shame, blame, and fear. After 40, we simply don't have the energy to carry that critic around anymore. Its voice is too heavy. The trick is not to try and fight it or silence it. That rarely works. The trick is to gently, patiently introduce a new voice, the voice of your inner mentor. If your inner critic is the one who points out everything that's wrong, your inner mentor is the wise, kind, and compassionate friend you've always wished you had. It's the voice of the person you already are, deep down, with all your hard-won experience and empathy. So, how do we do this? The next time you hear that critical voice pipe up, let's say you snapped at your partner and the critic immediately says, "You're a terrible person, you always ruin everything." I want you to pause. Just for a moment, acknowledge the critic, and then Consciously ask yourself, what would my inner mentor say right now? How would that kind, wise part of you address this situation? Your inner mentor wouldn't deny what happened. It would be honest but gentle. It might say something like, "Wow, you're really feeling on edge today, aren't you? That wasn't your finest moment, but it's okay. You're human and you're under pressure. Let's take a breath." Maybe go and let them know you're sorry, that you're just having a tough day. Do you feel the difference? One voice condemns you for being human. The other mentors you through your humanity. One leaves you feeling defeated and stressed. The other guides you toward repair and peace. This is the ultimate act of taking back your peace, making friends with yourself. For decades, you've likely been extending compassion and understanding to everyone else. It's time to turn that compassion inward. Your inner mentor is the one who can look at your perceived failures and see learning experiences. It can look at your weariness and see a signal that you need rest, not a character flaw. It can look at your life with all its complexities and wrinkles and see not a list of problems, but a tapestry of rich, valuable experience. And that's it. Those are the 5 mind tricks. We started by learning to catch the storyteller in our minds, to stop buying into the catastrophic fiction it tries to sell us. We then learned to plant our feet firmly in the present moment, to find our anchor in the here and now where peace actually resides. From that place of strength, we saw how we could redefine no as a powerful yes to our own well-being, protecting our precious time and energy like the valuable resources they are. We then learned to shift our entire perspective by turning the heavy language of obligation, "I have to," into the light-filled language of gratitude and privilege, "I get to." And finally, we discover how to complete this inner transformation by switching the voice of our harsh inner critic for the gentle, guiding voice of our inner mentor. This isn't about adding 5 more items to your to-do list. It's not another thing you have to master. It's about a shift in approach. It's about choosing, moment by moment, a different path through your own mind. It's about using the wisdom you already possess, the wisdom that comes from having lived, loved, struggled, and triumphed for over 4 decades, to finally design your inner world for peace, not for stress. This is your journey, and I would love to hear about it. Which of these tricks resonates most with you right now? Is it the idea of catching the storyteller, or maybe finding your inner mentor? Please share your thoughts or your own experiences in the comments below. Let's have a conversation and support each other. If this video brought you some value, some new perspective, please give a like. It really helps. And consider subscribing to the channel for more conversations like this, designed for this incredible chapter of our lives. Remember, peace isn't a destination you arrive at one day when all your problems are solved. It's a quality you build into the very fabric of your being, one mindful choice at a time. You have the power, right now, to take back your peace. Here's to your journey, and delivering these next chapters with more calm, more clarity, and more joy than ever before.